The 1920s was a prosperous era marked by economic success and social, artistic, and cultural dynamism. Nonetheless, unknown to everyone involved in it was actually a crumbling building that was just waiting to tumble down. Several changes in key areas were shaping the nation. Historians have been able to draw connections between contemporary advancements and those found in the 1920s, revealing key insights that may change the world as we know it.
Advertising in the 1920s. In the 1920s, new and affordable goods were being readily available to consumers. The average citizen was now able to purchase a variety of products that had never before made available. One reason for this widespread availability was the innovation in certain fields like electrical power. However, it was also clear that advertising plays a significant role in connecting consumers with products. Advertisers tapped into scientific and psychological techniques aimed to sell more product than ever before. The ads focused on American desires and fears instead of what people really needed. The advertisements inspired Americans by demonstrating how certain products could help them obtain their wildest ambitions. Currently, advertising has grown far more complex as the ways to connect businesses with consumers continues to grow exponentially. The internet is the most readily available source for advertisement because consumers are constantly online. Facebook was recently involved in a scandal for collecting data on their users without permission. They are the second largest media owner because they collect a chunk of advertising revenue for allowing businesses to place advertisements on their sites. Facebook's collection of private data shows how current marketing uses consumer information to tailor specific ads to a user. Advertising has grown far more intense in the recent years and will likely continue to fit ads to individuals despite some moral dilemmas. People were beginning to argue that immigrants were taking away jobs from American citizens and threatening their religious, political, and cultural traditions. In addition, the study of eugenics convinced some people that the American race was superior and any invasion would taint their society. Immigrants that could not read or write were prohibited from entering the United States. They established the Emergency Quota Act and the National Origins Act, which established a quota system to govern immigration. The National Origins Act established a limit of immigrants from each nationality based on the current population already in America. The quota did not, however, apply to Mexicans that came into America, and they faced discrimination and even violence. Currently, the United States allows for a maximum of 675,000 permanent immigrants each year, excluding some family exceptions. Each year, the President and the Congress also decide on an annual amount of refugees that the United States will permit. A lot of current immigration is based on connecting family members, so those in a family-based relationship receive special privileges and access into the United States. In addition, there is an employment-based immigration that allows citizens to hire foreigners for brief times. The United States still does not set limits on immigrants from specific countries. The United States has become slightly more accepting of immigrants, however, the restrictions make it clear that the United States is not ready to let everybody in.
During the decade, many women challenged political, economic, social, and educational boundaries to prove that their role was as vital outside the home as inside it. The role of women changed caused by the overall change of society as a whole. Women made more and more contributions to shape American culture. In the early 1900s, women were expected to center their lives on the home and family. The symbol of these changes were known as flappers, young women with short skirts and rugged cheeks who had their hair cropped close in the style known as a bob. The National American Women's Suffrage Association called on women to work in reform movements, run for office, and fight laws to protect women and children in the workplace. The National Women's Party demanded more economic, social, and political equality with men. During the decade, women tend to live longer, marry later, and have fewer children, freeing their time to pursue other interests. The internet has created a call-out culture in which sexism or misogyny can be called out and challenged. The culture is indicative of the continuing influence of the third wave, with its focus on micropolitics and challenging sexism and misogyny insofar as they appear in everyday rhetoric, advertising, film, television and literature, the media, and so on. Females aged between 18 and 29 are the power users of social networking. According to this research, the number of women using digital space is increasing. There is evidence, too, that the uptake of new technologies such as Twitter is growing in geographical areas where women still face social injustices. In Turkey, for example, women make up 72% of social media users. One of the key issues for contemporary feminism and intersectionality the idea that different axes of oppression intersect, producing complex and often contradictory results. Prohibition was a ban of alcohol use. In 1919, the 18th Amendment was ratified to the Constitution, which forbade the manufacture, distribution, and sale of alcohol anywhere in the U.S. The Volstead Act officially enforced the amendment. Advocates of prohibition argued that the impact of prohibition would be improved individuals, strengthened families, and better societies. Opponents of prohibition stated that the ban on alcohol did not stop people from drinking. Bootleggers sold illegal alcohol to consumers. Secret drinking establishments known as speakeasies attracted eager customers. Government agents worked tirelessly to stop the flow of illegal alcohol. Al Capone was a Chicago gang leader and the most famous criminal of the Prohibition era. As Americans consider further legalizing marijuana, it is worth reviewing how the use of this plant became illegal in the first place and why prohibition persists in much of the country more than half a century after its use became common. Interestingly, while marijuana has been an urgent topic of conversation for over a century in this country, the voices of doctors and scientists have been largely quiet. Instead, the debate has been shaped by media portrayals of drug use and reinforced by politicians and advocacy groups that supported them. Today, in states with the most liberal marijuana laws, citizens' access to the drug now resembles that of the 19th and early 20th centuries before the first attempts at federal regulation. Cannabis, like opiates and cocaine, was freely available at drugstores in liquid form and as a refined product hashes. Cannabis was also a common ingredient in turn-of-the-century patient medicines, over-the-counter medications brewed to proprietary formulas. In 1915, on Stone Mountain in Georgia, a revived Ku Klux Klan was formally organized. The KKK targeted Jews, Catholics, immigrants, and African Americans. The Klan opposed labor unions. The Klan stood against law-breaking and immorality. At its height, the Klan had 4 to 5 million members. Most were located in the South, but there were some branches in the Midwest. Klan leader David Stevenson ruled an iron fist and controlled numerous politicians. The KKK boycotted businesses owned by anyone Jewish, Catholic, or African American. They would terrorize citizens in the night, burning crosses outside their homes. The NAACP and the Anti-Defamation League battled against the KKK. National enrollment in the KKK is between 5,000 and 8,000 people. The influence is waning according to experts. Nevertheless, racism is still a prominent issue and people have a lot of work to do until it is eliminated. Studies show that African Americans view racism as a problem, while whites are more likely to deny the issue. Current ways to combat the KKK have been education and advocacy. Educating people allow them to understand the problem and are not as likely to dismiss it. Although the KKK is a fraction of its original power, it is still around and must continually be fought.